Hi everybody, so today's video is a little bit different, but yeah, did you really think I was going to teach you how to pierce yourself? Today's video is kind of in response to a little bit of seems to be a YouTube altercation that I seem to have gotten myself into. I watched a video posted on the internet by a girl called Danny, if that is her real name, because that's what it says on her YouTube site. She was bubbly and cool and bouncing around and naming all her piercings, and you know, she'd like done a couple of her ear piercings herself, and I was like, okay, you know, I haven't exactly had my ear piercings in the most hygienic places. And, you know, and then she's like, oh, I had this done at this shop and that done at that shop. And I was like, cool. And then she's like, and I had my nipples pierced in my friend's basement and my navel done in a car. That's when the cool stopped. And I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. You had your nipples pierced in a basement and your navel done in somebody's car. So I put a little comment and I said, ooh, it's not very hygienic, is it? And puke. And she was like, lol, eat me. I'm sexier than you. No, honey, you're not sexy when you're dead. So yeah, I'm glad you're not dead. I'm glad you're okay, and I'm glad that all your self-piercings have healed alright and haven't actually caused you any major problems, because although I might be seeming to come across as a bitch, and one of your subscribers actually put a comment on there saying, I love watching your videos because they're, as in over there, not as in they are, but anyhow, they're so cool and real and not sugar-coated and fake. And I was like, well, hang on a minute, are you implying that I'm sugar-coated and fake? Because I tell you what now, honey, the only things that are fake are these tetas right here, and the rest of me is not fucking fake. And what I have to say today is actually really important, so I have 8 minutes in which to say it, because YouTube doesn't allow videos longer than 10 minutes anymore. So let me get on with the story. Let me get on to the point of this video. I've had many years worth of experience of getting piercings. I have friends in the industry, and I've seen personally what goes wrong, because I've also experienced what goes wrong when you do not get pierced with a single-use sterilized needle in a hygienic place by somebody who is qualified, certified, and experienced in what they are doing. So I just want to read you a few stories off the internet that I found, and I'll put the links in the sidebar because, you know, you can tell that I'm not actually, you know, lying. This story goes back to November the 9th, 2005. Unfortunately, a promising A-level student, aged 17, died from blood poisoning due to a lip piercing. Now, he got that lip piercing done in a shop, okay, by a qualified person who claims to not have broken any hygiene laws. So she claims to have not broken any hygiene laws. It could be down to the fact that, yeah, sure, he might have been healthy, but his hygiene afterwards might not have been great. Or she could just be lying. So if somebody has died after getting a piercing done in a shop, quote, he developed a fever, began vomiting a fortnight after getting the piercing placed in his lip, and his girlfriend, who also got pierced there, also suffered from an infection and excessive bleeding and whatnot from the piercing. However, the only problem is he died. Yeah, he died. She was lucky he died. So this brings me to question, if something like that happens if you go to a shop, what can happen if you don't go to a shop? Now this story more focuses on the neglect of the mother, which is horrendous, but a young girl, 15, decided to pierce her own navel. She then contracted a serious blood disease, which was excruciatingly painful. She then immediately took to the couch for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, people. She was unable to move, she couldn't eat, and neither could she control her own bowel movements. Now, the mother didn't call the paramedic, she got her daughter diapers, and she left her there for 3 weeks. That is absolutely horrendous, okay? When the paramedics did actually arrive, the girl was, understandably, she was quite tall. She weighed 75 pounds. £75, and she was close to death. And this is due to her just wanting to pierce her own navel. And then, let's see what else. Oh yeah, Kansas City. This was only last year. A young teenager, 15-year-old, was at home with bronchitis and flu, and got bored and decided to pierce his bottom lip, and he pierced himself with a needle from a first aid kit, so assumingly it would be hygienic and clean and sterile. Yeah? No. He then went on to contract a staph infection. Okay? It almost killed him. To date, he faces heart surgery, hospitalization, and a long course of antibiotics. He contracted MRSA, and the doctor said that if it gets into his bloodstream, you can, basically expect an infection of the heart, pneumonia, an infection that can spread into the bones. He's already had 6 blood transfusions, 3 knee operations, and 2 hip surgeries. This is just by piercing yourself, okay? I'm being serious here. I'm not trying to be a bitch when I comment on your video and say, "Ooh, you're so unhygienic." This is what the doctor who treated this kid said. I guess there is a lesson in this. If you are getting a piercing, it should be done with someone who knows what they are doing. And it should be done with a clean, sterilized needle, with someone who knows where the major vessels are, to avoid injecting into an artery or vein, okay? So that's that as well. I really don't understand why people think I'm being a bitch when I say that. Ooh, you're so unhygienic, you're so risking everything. I'm not being a fake bitch, I'm not being a bitch. I'm being realistic, I'm being honest, I'm being truthful, and I would rather you go, well, why is she saying that? Let me go and do a bit of research, than hit back at me with, Amy, I'm sexier than you are. Right, whatever. Okay, so here's a little bit more information. Let's see if I can find this. On a girl who, wow, that was a different story. She nearly died when a body piercing, her navel piercing, shot through her body. Anyhow, infection is the main risk associated with body piercing. If hygiene standards are not adequate, those with piercings can catch hepatitis and HIV. Bacterial infections can result in cysts, which can develop into septicemia, which is blood poisoning, or toxic shock syndrome if left untreated. Girls, I'm sure most of you know, toxic shock syndrome can be caused if we leave tampons in our bodies too long. Nobody knows why, but it is something that in all tampon boxes, in the pamphlets, it says so. Body piercing is considered to be an invasive procedure. Like a surgical operation, it carries with it the same risks and healing periods. The healing times of the most common body piercings are ear, 3 to 4 months, navel, 1 to 12 months, tongue, 1 to 2 months, nose, 2 to 3 months. Body piercing also presents a risk of swelling and scarring. So, my dear Danny, when I say that you're being really unhygienic, I'm not trying to be a bitch. I'm not trying to cause an argument, and I know you've done a video on my, you're lolling at my comments. Lol all you want. This is not just for you. This is for everybody who thinks that piercing themselves without the proper education, the proper anatomy knowledge, the proper COSH and all that jazz, health and safety, with all of that, is okay. It's not okay. Let's be realistic here, people. Alright? Be safe.